Hello everyone and welcome along to round number 15 of season 29 of TGP1. We're here in the glorious Singapore and we've got a cracking race lined up for you. It's daytime, it's a little bit of a challenge extra for the drivers than the norm, and we join us in a fantastic part of the championship. With just 6 rounds to go, it's still anyone's game at the top of the standings. So last week we had 2 fantastic races in Baku and Sochi, with Jake getting his 2nd win of the season and Odems following up a strong season to claim the 2nd victory of the night despite having a qualifying ban going into it. So coming into Singapore then, the driver standings goes as follows. We've got Odem still at the top of the standings, 18 points clear of John. We've got Softcop up into 3rd now, just 34 points off the lead. Phil Bargewell in 4th, 43 off the top. Paul McGuinness in 5th, the only driver so far this season to not score a point. He's 49 points off the top, and Matt 51 points off the top now in 6th. So that's your top 6. Those are the people who still have a very realistic chance of taking this title. Could be any one of those that only takes one bad race. Suddenly you're right back in it, or suddenly very much out of it. The rest of the field just sort of make themselves up as they are. We've got James having a very strong season in 7th. Jake, who seems to be having a very up and down season, he can't make it tonight, he's got a virus. Then we got Martin in 9th. Jamie in 10th, he was expecting more, as was I, of him at the start of the season, but things haven't gone quite to plan for him. We've got Luca Chiapelli then in 11th, great season for him so far, and Dom just 4 points behind his teammate in the other Sauber. Owens having quite a disappointing season down in 13th, and we've got Jack Pearson in 14th, the man who's finished 2nd the last 3 seasons of TGP2, maybe not quite going as well as he'd hope. Ritson down in 15th, the other Force India, 2 Force Indias maybe not doing quite as well as they would have wanted. And then we've got the Lonely Stragglers from 15th downwards. So tonight we've got 2 cracking races coming up for you. We've got Singapore followed by Bahrain. As I already said, Singapore is in the daytime, which should provide an extra little challenge for the drivers. And I'm hearing from some people it could even be a wet race, so not only will it be dry, but it might be damp too. So with just under 2 minutes left, everyone who's out now will either be on an out lap or probably their last flying lap with the time we've got left. So I'll give you a little rundown of the order. We've got Odems, the man in form at the moment, sitting pretty at the top of the timesheets. Softy 3 tenths back from him in Taro Rosso. Then we've got Matt, the championship challenger, in 3rd. James having a great session up there in 4th so far. He's only just ahead of the returning Ritson tonight, so that's a good effort from Ritson, you've got to say. And to Jamie in 6th, Phil Bardwell's down in 7th, he want to improve himself. New boy with us tonight, Josh, he's going to be in the Haas, hopefully can impress in his first night in TGP1. We very much look forward to the apparent South African driver racing with us. Jonas down in 9th at the moment. He's really going to want to improve on that time. I don't know if he made a mistake on his first lap, but the pressure's definitely on from the man from Harlow on his last few runs. Then we've got Paul down in 10th, Martin in 11th, Jack Pearson 12th, Owen 13th, Chiapelli 14th, Dom Smith 15th, and Nell Jack in 16th. We've just had Jamie Day go into 2nd. We've just had Martin Diver crash. And we've got a few drivers coming on their laps at the moment. So with 30 seconds to go, let's see who can improve and who will make up ground and positions where they need to. Chiapelli has put it in the wall, I'm assuming. Maybe he hasn't. No, he hasn't. He's just given up the ghost. Let's have a look at Odems coming towards the end of his lap now. Getting all squirrely coming out of the chicanes. I think this is going to be his last lap. It's going to be very close. If not, Alex has called it a day. He's going to be last at best. Odems round the final corner now. He will get another lap in. Where's this lap going to put him? He goes quicker by 2 tenths. And that's really set the gauntlet for the rest of the session. Jamie, as we said, the man who was who retired but set a good snap. James O'Connor's just improving on to 4th. That puts pressure on the likes of Matt and even more. John is now still languishing down in 9th place. Who else we got on the lap? Softy is just coming through to start sector 3. Whereas we got Matt. Matt is just in the middle of sector 2, so we'll keep an eye on his lap towards the end. Ritson is similarly just coming towards the Anderson Bridge, and he's actually put it in a wall. Ritson is out and missing his front left tyre. Disaster for the Force India driver. Phil Bargewell is also quite far down in 7th at the moment. He's just coming through sector 2 as well. We've got Josh, he's in sector 3. Let's go back to Softy. He's going around the final couple of corners now. Is this going to be improvement on P3? It puts him 2nd. He's on the front row, but still half a second off of Odems. Jonas has only gone 7th. Disastrous qualifying for him, 1.4 seconds off the leading driver. Matt now just coming up to this grandstand section. Underneath the stadium we go. Jack Pearson's given up the ghost in 13th. Matt then needs to be super tidy, super controlled through these last few tricky chicanes. We're coming up now to the double left-hander, the last 2 turns. Matt then, all pressure's on these final couple of corners. Where's he going to go? He goes second. He knocks off the front row. And that's a very, very usual front row we've had this season, with Odems and Matt lining up at the front. We've still got Phil Bargewell doing a lap. He's just come around the line a couple of corners now. Is Phil going to go any quicker? He does, but not as much as he would have wanted. The man who sits 4th in the championship only goes P7. So then, let's have a little run down of the order. So Odems in his usual position in P1. Matt 6 tenths off, but in 2nd place. Softy in 3rd. I don't think we'll be too disappointed with that qualifying attempt. Then we've got Jamie in 4th. Great qualifying from him. James O'Connor similarly in 5th. It's an all-Ferrari 3rd row with Paul in 6th. Phil Bargewell down in 7th. Ritson, it was looking so good until he made that crash. Jonas, our champion, one of the championship favourites, down in 9th. Josh completes the top 10. Then we got Martin, Dom, Owen, Jack, Luca and Alex. So as the drivers get ready now, as we said, we've heard rumours that this race might be wet, and we very much look forward to a skipping spectacle if that comes about. And there is rain on my lens, and out the commentary box window I can see the heavens have opened. The marshals have their rain jackets on, the teams have got their umbrellas, and Jonas has got out his outboard motor. As the drivers line up on the grid, it very much seems like we're going to have a very good evening of racing here. We hope that drivers don't disappoint. I'm sure they won't, but we also hope for some good, clean, fair and fun racing down there on track. So as the drivers get ready, the last few preparations now. We have 2, 3, 4, 5 lights for the Singapore Grand Prix, and it's lights out and we're underway. It's not a great start from Matt, but the second phase has gone well, and he's already got past Odems, who's not had the greatest start and might be under threat from Softy. He is. There's a little bit of contact. The Haas driver has to run out wide. The 2 Ferraris have made a good start back there as well, and they've already got past Jamie, who's dropped down to 6th. Odems holds his own and has a little bit more contact with Softy, and Odems fends off the Toro Rosso driver for now, but it's a great start for Matt. The 2 Ferraris are getting very close for comfort as well, as we set up in 4th and 5th. Ritson's getting a little bit tasty further back, and we've got a yellow flag further down. I'm not sure what that would have been for. I can't see. Matt is still holding his own out the front though. One of the Ferraris, that's James, having to go a little bit defensive from his teammate. The intermediate tyres are working hard to clear the water here. We've got Jonas running a little bit wide in the background, who's not made up any ground at all. In fact, he's lost a place as James runs wide, and that is the exact invitation that Paul needs to go in and move up into 4th. But there's definitely a little bit of a roadblock starting to form already behind these 2 Ferraris, and the rest of the field's going to want to get on with it just to be able to stand a chance with keeping the top 3 in sight. Well, as said, at the moment Matt is doing a fantastic job out in the lead. We've got a Haas looking a little bit tasty up the inside of a Renault there. Jonas has got back past Josh, so that's good news for him. It's all getting quite close further back. Jamie's having to defend off Ritson, and that meant Phil Bargewell's got to run, and he's already got past him before he even gets to the corner. And now Jonas is having a look at the stricken Force India, who's having to go defensive into the turn after the Anderson Bridge, as Josh is trying to move up the inside of Jonas there. Everything gets a little bit too close for comfort. Chiapelli's going to want a little incident to happen here to be able to stand a chance. We've got a yellow flag further back. We've got Owen in the wall, and he's missing some of his front wing. I don't know if he's had contact with Alex maybe out there, or Martin, who's also missing some of his front wing. But disaster then for those drivers, but not a disaster so far for Matt, who's pulled out already a second lead as we come towards the end of lap 1. And now Paul is able to put Softy under pressure. Softy really struggling in these wet conditions. Oh, and he's sliding coming out of the last corner. He's nearly lost it and put it in the wall, similar to what Mike Noon did in TGP2. Matt set the fastest lap, and Softy has to go defensive. And for the time being, Paul has to stick behind the Toro Rosso driver, as Phil's getting all over the back of Jamie further back. Ritson's dropped down to 10th, as Jonas and Josh have got ahead of him. And we've got Jack Pearson, Martin, Alex and Owen in the pits, as Paul had another look at the inside of Softy, I think sooner rather than later, because clearly Paul is the quicker of the 2 drivers. Softy normally very good in the wet so far towards the end of the long straight. And fantastic aerial cam we've got here.
Softy!
Softy's in the wall! Softy is in the wall!
Damage.
And he I let go here, I'm afraid. So I'm trying to look at his front wing as he's coming past the camera. I can't see anything too major. Let's have a look on this camera. I think, yes, he has. He's lost part of his end plate. And that's going to rile Paul up even more as James runs to the back of his teammate. A little love tap there. And we've got a yellow flag further back in sector 1. I'm not sure who that's
huge
for.
Crash! Ritson just smashed into the tunnel.
And Ritson's crashed and is out of the race. Disaster for Ritson. The two Saubers are fighting, but what's going on further ahead? Softy's holding the ball. Paul's running to the back of Softy. He's lost some of his front wing. And there's a safety car. There is a safety car for the incident, and I think that's maybe what caught Paul out. Softy maybe braked, just reacting to the safety car signal. But the rain is still coming down at Marina Bay, and we've got a safety car now just to calm things down a little bit. But Paul, I think, is going to be almost as red as his car after a very embarrassing moment running into the back of the Softy under safety car conditions. So they're all bunching up now, and they look like we're about to run into her again. But Softy peels off into the pits. He's going to replace his front wing. Is anyone else going to join him? I don't think anyone is. Is any of the Saubers? Yes, we've got Chiapelli in the pits. I wonder if he picked up damage maybe from Ritson's incident. We've got Josh in the pits as well.
Oh,
he's
Dom,
also got some damage. Dom's got a penalty. Don't know how he's managed that, but Dom's somehow in the pits as well.
Dom,
so that's
you've
a
just
disaster for Luca, who is now going to have to queue behind his fellow countryman. And is he going to hold up the pits for Softy? Softy getting very close there as Josh now exits the pits with Dom, and Dom has jumped Josh. And now they get to work on Luca's car.
Oh my
God!
God!
The safety car tours with the leaders.
Ideal, Dom.
Sorry, I didn't want to pit, and then I realised the tyre was so bad. But I got a penalty for it, so give me a penalty.
So we're hearing Dom Smith over the team radio. Made a very late call to come to the pits due to some tyre wear, but has picked up a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Maybe that last minute call was a little bit too last minute. And is Chiapelli even going to come out behind Alex? Don't think he is. Owen is coming to the pits as well from the very back. I don't know if he picked up damage as well on his outlap. But this has probably worked out least well for Matt, who had just started getting himself a little gap. And to Odems, which is obviously fantastic news for him. It's probably actually worked out best for Paul, in all honesty. Stuck behind Softy, despite getting a little bit of damage to his front wing, now finds himself just 8/10 of a second behind the leading pair, and when the safety car was called, he was 3.5 seconds off the leading pair. So, Paul, if you can hear me, I'm sure you can. Stay strong, brother. So, as we're into this now little lull in the race, let's give you a chance to run through the order while we get chance. So, at the front, Matt, with that fantastic start from the front row, leads us here today so far. Great start from him. Odem's falling back from first at the first corner, is in second, and nearly lost second to Softy at the beginning as well. Paul is up to third. Great start from him. All in all, he has gone up. I don't know how many stops, how many places he's gone up. He's gone up 3 places, Paul. It's a great start for Paul. James is in fourth. Also a good start. Jamie had an awful start and was down as low as 6th at one point, and nearly looked I was going to fall behind the then Ritson and Phil battle, but somehow managed to stay ahead of them and running 5th. So good race for the Mercedes driver. Phil Bardrow, as we mentioned, is in 6th. And we got Jonas in 7th, who at one point in lap 1 was down to P10, but has managed to work himself back up to P7. So we got the first of the stoppers. So we got Softy in 8th, who this could work out quite well. Obviously, tyre wear in the interior can be quite large at times, so if the people at the front do start struggling particularly, then this could work out alright for Softy. So he's not lost too much ground, as he is still ahead of everyone else who stops. Then we've got Dom Smith on his first race with us in TGP1 in 10th, so good effort so far from Josh despite having to pit. Jack Pearley in 14th, and Owen the track in 15th at the moment, picking up the 1 point.
We're going to have to pit again.
We're here on the team radio there. Jack Pearson saying that he will still have to pit again. So tyre wear clearly isn't favourable on the street circuit as it is, which is not even
Softy's lagging, so I've had to back off.
normally.
There's some severe lag in this fucking Christ.
Martin's gone seriously wide.
Mike, you might need to reset your internet. You keep cracking.
It is Mike and not me, right?
Yeah, Mike's
Yeah,
got really bad.
Okay.
The
'cause I just
fucking I'm tempted
Everyone from 8th downwards is pitted, I think. Everyone at 7th above has
Yeah.
not chosen to let them to pit. So that's how it's
Yeah,
going to be
but
worse.
how the fuck? Anyway, I've got
I don't
10%.
think
I'm
the
going
time's
to do
that
that.
bad.
What?
I'm only at 8%.
Okay, safety car in this lap, Mike.
Yeah,
Safety
but
car we're hearing on team radios in this lap. My screen is just getting back to me. We had a little bit of communications issues there. Nothing to do with it's obviously communications and networks is absolutely fantastic. So kudos to Joe, team, for getting me back so quickly. Thank you, Joe.
Singapore dial up.
Here we go. We're all getting ready then for the restart. My timing systems are a little bit buggered, so bear with me. So Matt is warming the tyres, getting ready for the restart. As hopefully we put it. Somehow it's managing to rain in the tunnel. That's quite impressive. As the cars are all getting ready for the restart.
Okay, that connection fit from back here
When
again.
will Matt drop the hammer? The Renault driver, they're leading the constructors, and this is a great position for them to be in so far. He's dropped the hammer, and he's left Odem's course a little bit napping. Does he go wide into the final couple of turns? No, he doesn't. Good exit from Matt there, but he will have the chasing pack all over him. Coming now into turn 1, Odem's playing second fiddle for the time being. Paul is going to want to keep these guys in eye. But with that damaged front wing, is he better to let James have a go at them? I know from Paul McGuinness of past, though, he will not let his teammate through without the fight. So, further down the field, it's pretty much as we were. Phil Bardwell, though, being put under a lot of pressure from Jean-Luc Taylor. The man from Harlow is going to really want to get his start line gremlins under and behind his belt. But Softcop is also now looking to try and get past the Renault driver as they make their way now at the end of the long straight. Softy still line astern. And Dom Smith has dropped back a couple of positions already and seems to be really struggling on these intermediate tyres as Martin has a little look but can't quite do anything about it. And Dom's actually in the wall. Oh, Dom's lost some of his front wing, and that's going to have to be another visit to the pit. But making their way now towards the Anderson Bridge, it's Matt who leads Odems by half a tenth. Half a tenth? Wow, half a second. With Paul hanging on in third, but with that front wing damage, as we said, is really struggling in these wet weather conditions. You need all the grip you can get away with as Jamie spins up the rear tyres coming out of the hairpin. And Paul's going to have to be watching his mirrors, unfortunately, rather than watching the cars in front of him. As Paul again a little bit squirrely on the power, but it's not easy in these conditions. James behind him is going to be watching like a hawk. And is there a little bit of contact there? Did Paul make a mistake? My camera was somewhat, for some reason, in the curb, so I couldn't actually see anything as they make their way under the grandstand again. Oh, and James has actually hit the wall. Through and under the grandstand, he clips the wall, and it's out of control. Is he bloody Christ? Sliding all over the place, and this could give a great opportunity to Jamie. James should be challenging his teammate, not looking in his mirrors, as Matt sets the fastest lap of the race. Already got himself a 1.1 second advantage over Odems. As they come now into turn and through turns 1, 2 and 3, everyone's just sort of seems to be well poised at the moment. Doesn't seem to be much apart from that happening. As I look further back, and Softy's got his way past Josh, so that's good for Softy, the highest of the chaps who's pitted. And he's going to want to distance himself from the rest swiftly. Paul then back on the defensive from his teammate. Coming now towards the long straight. Is James close enough to make a move? Not quite. The distinctive green helmet of James O'Connor for his national country, Ireland. Paul again running wide, struggling for grip. And actually Jamie's not as close as he should be, really, to be able to harry the two Ferraris, and at the moment is probably going to be put under pressure from Phil and Jonas in a minute, as Jonas is pretty much changing gear for Phil. Dom Smith's back in the pits as we thought with the front wing damage, and as they make their way through now and onto the Anderson Bridge, towards this hairpin, which can be an overtaking opportunity in the right conditions, and at the moment it's very much not the right conditions. James then on the power, going down towards the end of sector 2. I don't think he's close enough yet still. He's not going to want to wait behind his teammate for much longer, as the front two are getting away and already have a 3.2 second gap, and Odems has actually taken nearly half a second out of Matt already on this lap. So is Matt starting to struggle now a little bit with tyre wear and the conditions? So Paul is sliding his way through sector 3. Martin's got a 5-second stop and go penalty, disaster for him. And Phil's got past Jamie, unseen by me, the Red Bull driver. The man sitting 4th in the championship has got his way past the Mercedes. And that's great news for Phil, as he's now put a car between himself and Jonas. And Jamie's having to go defensive from Jonas as well now, as Phil makes a bit of a mistake. Matt set the fastest lap of the race. We thought he was struggling. He's very much not, but everyone else is sliding round the last corner. James still line astern with his teammate through turn 1. Then they go with Phil still in 5th, Jamie in 6th. Softy's picked up a time penalty, as has Jack Pearson. A disastrous few seconds for the Toro Rosso drivers. And they will have 3 seconds out of their time, irrespective of where they finish. As James then still putting Paul under piles and piles of pressure. Surely he's going to make a move into turn 5. Turn 6 even. As, no, Paul holds where he is, goes a little bit defensive. And Phil's going to want to try and catch these two as soon as possible. But James is still all over. Paul's gone wide, he's in the wall. Paul has put it in the wall. He's got some big damage. He's going to have to pit whether he likes it or not now. Disaster for the Ferrari. He was doing a solid job holding everyone else off, but there was only so much he could do then. He outbraked himself, and next stop, unfortunately for him, was the wall. Softy's now got past him, has he? This is going to get close as Josh looks around the outside, and there's contact. They're bumping wheels, and Josh,
what is that?
the Haas driver in the end, does get through, and now Jack Pearson's going to try and be the next person to claim Paul McGuinness. And it's a disaster from the Scotsman. He's a long way from Knock Hill, and he's definitely feeling uncomfortable on this circuit at the moment, as Jack does the whippity-wop, the flop swap, as Jack Pearson runs a little bit at this corner. When you make a move there, you can make it stick. So then, the gap at the front is down to 8 tenths, and the gap then back to 3rd is a whopping 6 seconds already. So the front two really are making headway. And when are we going to start see people pit? So Matt got the fast lap then, and immediately Odom's banged in a better lap. So they're all still putting times, even though some drivers are complaining of time. And is it getting to that critical point that everyone's start? Well, half of it. Chip Alley's back up to 11th. Good race so far from him. Owen, after his disastrous first couple of laps, is into a 12th even. Jack Pearson's not having a bad one in 9th. As they come now towards Singapore Sling. And still as we were for the battle for 3rd, and it's as we were for the battle for 1st as well. I mean, Oden's exactly a million miles off the back of Matt, but at the same time, he's nowhere near close enough to be able to make a move, and he's actually just made a mistake on that hairpin there, and has lost a good 6 tenths. So is Odin starting to struggle? Will we see one of those two make a brave call and come into the pits maybe, just to try and catch the other one out? Of course, it all depends whether they'll come out in a good pocket of space, but for the time being they're staying as they were. It seems that Matt's got a lot more confidence in this last sector in Odem, so that might be crucial towards the end of the race. And someone with a little bit of confidence at the moment is Jonas, who's now starting to put the Mercedes of Jamie under pressure. Jamie running well in 5th, although if you'd said that to him in pre-season, he would have been a bit disappointed with that, but as is the way his season has been, unfortunately for him. Coming onto this main start-finish straight now. We see Josh getting a little bit squirrely in the background. Josh in his first race at the moment in 8th place, picking up some solid 7 points. So that's good for Josh. John is still ghosting the Mercedes. Will we see a move down into turn 6? Jamie gets a little bit squirrely on exit. Is that going to be the invitation that Jonas needs coming down into turn 6? I don't think he's close enough. Are we going to see a late banzai move from the Renault driver? I don't think so this lap. But Jonas is going to want to clear them as soon as possible, because obviously you've got Softy, who has pitted behind him, Not that that seems to be making a huge difference for the Toro Rosso, so maybe he should have stayed out on that damaged front wing and stuck with it. Obviously, we know that Softy has a penalty as well, so very much not ideal circumstances from the man from Nottingham. As they filter their way through wing. Are they going to be setting up sort of action? I tell you what, Jonas nearly had a lot of action up the back of Jamie's car then, but managed to keep himself out of it. And Softy in the back going a little bit squirry, but Jonas is very close. And is he going to make a move? No, he's not. He thinks better of it. Maybe he just needs to get on with it in a minute. He's got a shocking helmet on, but he's going to have to try and make a move.
Lag's bad, lag's...
Disappointment. Owen has got past Luca further back in the battle for 11th. And as they filter their way underneath this grandstand again, Jonas is still hounding the Mercedes driver, and all this time they're losing time to the front, to actually third and fourth, and the front two, as Matt puts in another fastest lap of the race. And we've got someone coming into the pits. Jamie has decided that he needs to change his tyres. I think that's a bit silly, personally, because not a lot of people seem to be struggling. But if he needs to, if he's struggling, as Jack Pearson gets another penalty in 8th place, where's Jamie going to come out? He's definitely behind Owen and Luca, and he might even be behind. Come on, as Jack Pearson and Josh are having a good little battle, and
oh, no, we're not.
No,
That's lag.
for some reason the place is.
What's
What is wrong with this game? Bear with me.
Me and Paul are dying for a safety car, just on our own in 14th and 15th.
This is now a new feature we have in CS Sports. Just cut to some team radio.
So yeah, I think
the last sector's fucking boned right.
is it dry enough for drives? 'Cause I don't know. I mean, I don't
No,
think it
it's
is.
not.
I don't think they get your sarcasm, Mike.
Do you think it's ready for dry tyres, John?
No, I said esports ready.
I can't be asked 5 laps and 15th. Not fair. Come on, safety car.
The last
Listen,
sector's
mate,
fucking
Cody's
dry.
perfect on that game. I'm just glad Jamie pitted when he did, because that's just, I'm like half a second up now.
I've literally got no confidence on the brake whatsoever.
And we're back.
I've got confidence.
Right, let's have a look further down the order. So Matt is still in the lead. Great driving so far for Matt. He's still got that over a second buffer to Oden's. I hope you all enjoyed a little bit of the team radio coverage we had there. New feature for CS Sports. Looking further down the grid, James is still holding his own as the front two are still going quicker on those used intermediate tyres, which makes me wonder even more why the hell Jamie pitted. As we heard on some of that team radio there, the rain is easing. It's getting a little bit dry, but not dry enough, no one thinks yet, for the dry tyres. Dom Smith is out of the race. Dom, what happened? We hope Dom's okay. We are getting no team radio, so it must have been a big one. Looking down the order, will this be a virtual safety car? I wonder. It's going to be a difficult one for the marshals to clear up, but hopefully they can get through it pretty swiftly. He's missing his front left tyre, so the wheel tethers doing their job there at keeping the tyre within the close proximity. And disaster for Dom, who wasn't having a glistening race, but wasn't having a bad one. But we're now going to look at the battle for 8th place, sorry, as Jack Pearson is coming under some huge pressure from the other Mercedes and Martin. And we heard Jack over team radio complaining that the conditions are awful, but is that just an excuse for about to being overtaken by a Silver Arrow? Jack, we know, with a couple of penalties, but so does Martin, so I think Jack has amassed about 6, and Martin has about 5. So really, Martin is about half a second ahead of Jack. It doesn't look like it, but bear with me. And Jack's got himself a little bit of a gap now, so that lived long. Oh no, he's made a mistake. It's back on, and Martin is all over the back, and he's going to have a little look, but I think he's clipped the wall and got some damage. They both go wide. Did something happen? Martin is definitely running a lighter weight front wing than he was about 30 seconds ago. and he's struggling even more at the back end. As let's have a look further up the field. Is anyone getting close to anyone in particular? Jamie's getting pretty close to Alex, but that should be a pretty much done deal in Jamie's favour, you'd expect, on the newer tyres. Softy is less than a second off of Johners, but in these conditions that suddenly becomes quite a big gap. As talking of big gaps, James is 10 seconds off the top two, who have really just run away with this race, trading fastest laps, and with 4 laps to go, they haven't had to battle each other yet, but all it'll take is one mistake from Matt, and Odems will be right with him. Not that we want that, of course. Matt has driven a flawless race so far, and we hope it continues. So we'll keep an eye on them in the corner of our eyes as the race progresses further. As James is running a bit of a lonely race now in P3. Should be on for a podium, though. I'm not sure if he's had a podium yet this year. I honestly can't remember. He has had a podium this year. Thank you very much, Johners. That's brilliant, that is. God, he can hear me through the team radio. And so James then on for another podium this year. As it's actually been a very good season for the Ferrari driver. He was very disappointed after his last season, but someone who is going to be a little bit wary and nervous at the moment is Phil Bardwell. As Jack Pearson is getting a little bit brown trousered in 8th place.
Oh, Phil's gone very wide there.
And so is Softy. So the Red Bull sponsored cars are struggling, and Johners could be right where he needs to be with Phil Bardwell at the moment. These two currently 2nd and 4th in the championship, with Johners in the higher of the positions, was leading the title for so long and is now losing even more points to Odems. But through the chicanes they come, and Johners is just 2 tenths behind Phil. And is he going to be close enough to make a move into turn 1? I think he is. Phil's going to have to go defensive, but Johners is already alongside him. Is he? No, not quite. Is Johners going to make a last-ditch move? I don't think he's confident enough on the brakes at this point. And with 3 laps to go, was that Johners' best chance? Should he have just licked a stamp and send it in Phil's left box? But now, coming onto the main straight, Johners is going to want to have to make that move sooner rather than later, as Josh runs very close to the wall further back. Jamie Day has made himself up 2 positions and back up to 11th, but is now 20 seconds off the next car in front of him. So disaster for Jamie, unless he has some serious tyre wear, and of course had to pit. Jack Pearson is still struggling and now got Martin half a second off the back of him again. So we'll keep an eye on that. Softy, after that mistake, has now dropped to 2nd behind these guys. Josh, 1.2 behind him, doing a sterling job in his first night in TGP1. And Phil then, at the moment, clinging on to 12 points. But there's a Renault driver that I think would put his hat in the ring for next best to earn those 12 points. As we come now onto sector 3, not really an overtaking part of the track, but it's a good place to line yourself up for somewhere like the main straight, or even just for any part of next lap. So Johners will have to think about this more than ever.
Oh, my tyres are fucking gone.
Jack Pearson over the radio, struggling with his tyres even more. Johners gets very close to the wall, which has caught so many drivers out over the years.
Come on, come on.
Paul McGuinness having a lonely race. Where is he? God, he's down in 12th, 13th even. Oh, poor Paul.
Oh, Alex.
Now then, onto the start finish straight again. Johners is right where he needs to be, but he probably would like to be a little bit closer, so he's not where he needs to be and can't make a move yet. And he's now going to have to be looking in his mirrors. There's just 6 tenths of a second down the road. Is a very hungry Toro Rosso. And onto the main straight they come again. Phil Bardwell putting up one of their fences of the century, but he's going to have to hold off a bit longer. I think Phil's running a little bit less wing, because on the straights he seems to be comfortably able to deal with Johners and Softy, who are both in the slipstream. And of course I know there's no DRS or anything in the wet weather conditions, but for the time being Phil's doing what he has to do. Is further back we've got a great battle going on for 8th, as Jack Pearson, Martin and Owen are getting very close for comfort. And are we going to see a move made here? Jack Pearson really struggling on his tyres. And the Mercedes driver is well poised to make a move should Jack's tyres fall completely off the cliff. And Owen is in an even better position if these two make contact. Jack sliding out of each corner, getting very close to the wall. Is Martin going to have a go into the hairpin? No, he's not. So they're all in the line astern as they come now onto the back straight. Is any of them close enough to make a move? I don't think so.
Great battle for the final point here.
We're hearing this good battle for the final point. Paul's right on the back of Alex. Coming into the Singapore sling, Alex goes a bit wide. Paul's doing a great job to try and recover what he messed up so early on. Odem sets the fastest lap coming onto the last lap, and the gap is just 0.6 of a second. Alex runs wide. That's just the invitation that Paul McGuinness needs to move into 12th place. So Paul, right where he needs to be. I'm going to cut to the front because the gap is just 0.4 of a second as we're on the last lap. Has Odem saved everything for the last lap? Matt's going to wish he hadn't. Odem gets a little bit squirrely coming out the corner, but they're very close together. And this is going to get very tasty indeed. Into turn 6. Odem's not close enough to do anything yet. And as they make their way now through the tricky corners, tricky traction zones. In the dry, it's a point and squirt. In the wet, it's a point and hesitate, and then a little bit of squirt.
Owen's going to overtake Martin.
Owen's going to overtake Martin, I hear on the team radio, and has
forward.
now overtaken Martin. Jonas is still behind Phil, but we're watching the battle for first as it's been building up, and there's hope for a non-anticlimatical finish. Matt is starting to find his feet again, and the gap's drawn out a little bit as Jonas is just 2 tenths off the back of Phil into the Singapore sling, with Softy just 2 tenths off him and Josh just 5 tenths off him. This is the closest battle on track, and who is going to take 4th and who is going to go home crying? Softy has a little look up at the inside there, but isn't close enough to do anything. Phil, I think, has got enough of a gap into the next turn to be safe, but Softy is going to want to make a move on Jonas, and is he going to be late on the brakes? Jonas does a late defence. Josh makes a move out the inside of Softy. There's a little bit of contact. The Haas driver, he had to go for it. Softy immediately went to the outside line. There was nothing that Josh could do. There's a little bit of contact, but they both remain intact for the time being. As Matt is about to win the race, he comes around the final corner. It's an expert drive from the Renault driver to take the win. Odem's kept him honest but finishes second. James is going to come home third if he can keep it out the wall of the last 2 corners, which he will do, I hope. Phil Bargewell is somehow going to hold on to 4th. Jonas is somehow going to hold on to 5th at the time being, and Softy will be 6th, but they're very close. Go around the last corner. Who's going to be 4th? It's Phil Bargewell by the skin of his teeth. Softy crossed the line 6th as Josh spins off in the background, but will be 6th after Softy's penalty. Owen came home 8th. It's a huge crash on the start-finish line as the race ends. Jack Pearson's car is in bits. Owen has also got barely in his tyres. So Owen finished a fantastic 8th. Martin came home in 9th. Jack Pearson in 10th. Jamie is going to be 11th as he spins around the last corner. Did he cross the line? Just about. Paul McGuinness is going to finish a lonely 12th, still keeping his record of scoring points in every race. Alex is going to be 13th in the Williams. Good drive from him. And Chiapelli's not going to be very satisfied with the last point, but it will have to do for the Manxman, who crosses the line in P14. Well, the rain definitely spiced things up a bit, but I'd have to say, if Singapore were a curry, it would still be a tikka. Let's now wait for the drivers to come out onto the podium. It's Matt, who takes another win in a brilliant season for him. Odems comes home second, and James stands on the podium. It's a great result for those three, and Matt can still win this title with 5 races to go. It's game on. As the drivers finishing off their celebrations and getting ready to pose for the pictures. It's another good result for Odems, who extends his lead at the top of the standings, but it's Matt who was the victor. Odems came home second. James, a great race for him, in third. Phil Bargewell in fourth. John has a good recovery from him in fifth. Josh, a great debut night for him, coming home sixth. Softy will be very disappointed with seventh, considering he started him from third and almost looked like he was going to be second off the first couple of corners. Owen, a good result for him in eighth. Martin in ninth. Jack Pearson 10th. Jamie in 11th. Paul McGuinness 12th. Alex in 13th. Chiapelli in 14th. 15th for Dom, and it was 16th and the first man out for Ritson.
Alright lads, welcome along to Bahrain. I'm on my holidays, man. Ha ha ha. Come on over to your commentary. Comedy.
Oh dear. Welcome along everyone to round number 16 in the championship. We're here in Bahrain. It's night time. I don't know if you noticed, but it is night. And the championship is getting ever nearer to its final conclusion. We've got 5 rounds left in this season. And race, Matt is still looking very much like he's in contention. A great and controlled win the whole time, keeping Odems honest behind him, and Odems with not enough of a challenge to be able to mount on the Renault driver. It was a good result for James as well, getting another podium this season, and Phil Bargewell holding off the oncoming John, Softy and new boy Josh to finish in P4. It was a disappointing race for some out there, not to mention one Ritson doing very well, Jamie another one who bottled it, and Paul McGuinness, who was having a very lonely race battling with Alex and Luca Chiapelli, finishing in the end in a very low P12, but nonetheless he's come back strong here, and with 3 minutes and 41 seconds to go, it's Odems, who as per usual is topping the sign seats with his teammate joining him on the front row provisionally at the moment, Josh. A great qualifying lap from him so far, and will the two of those be able to go quicker? Softy is in third at the moment, and just 3 tenths, 3 tenths behind pole sitter Odems. This is at the moment, I'd say, after the first laps have gone in, the closest it's been. I might be wrong, but there we go. Matt at the moment in P4, and then we've got Paul in P5, Phil P6, but some just under a second off the pace. Ritson in P7. John is down there in P8 at the moment. The once championship leader is maybe seeing his title slip through his fingers, but he's going to want to get back up to those top spots as soon as possible. And so at the point, Jamie in 10th, so at the moment it's an all Mercedes 5th row. And the McLaren driver in 11th, Jack Pearson 12th, Owen 13th, Dom 14th, his teammate in 15th, James, who's gone out on the soft tyres, in 16th, and Alex in 17th. So Alex has just popped up to 14th. As I said that, thank you, Alex. So as they all head out now onto their last runs, it's time to see who's got a good lap still left in their locker and who can't quite remember their code. So we've got Owen just come around the final corner to start what I believe to be his final run. The man from Norfolk has not had a very consistent season so far. He had a good race last time out, finishing the end in 8th after a little incident at the end with Jack and Martin. But it was a solid race from Owen, despite being facing the wrong way and with barely a front wing after lap 2. It was a good recovery from him in the end, as the rest of the field make their way out the garages now as well. Everyone seems to be... The only person he hasn't come out so far is Odems, who with 1 minute and 35 would have enough time to come out the pits and put a lap together. That he's not now. Oh, he's just coming out the pits now. This is going to be very touch and go. God, to say he's left it to the last minute would be an understatement, as the Haas driver is going to have some drivers in front of him on flying laps, and he's going to want to obviously keep out their way, but obviously keep his foot in to make it to the checkered flag in time. So has he left it too late? We shall see. Car off in the back, hitting the wall hard at high speed. Let's hope he's okay. And that's qualifying over for Jack. He's going to be no higher than 12th. James has gone no higher than 13th on those soft tyres. Where's Owen going to go? Come around the last corner now. Phil Barger is going to end the session 5th at best. Owen across the line, the other Red Bull driver. He only goes 13th at the moment. The track isn't gripping in that much. Owen should be able to get another lap in, but is he going to want to? Soft got goes pole. Softy has gone pole. And where's Odems? Odems is just coming towards the last corner now. And by half a tenth, at the moment, Softy's on provisional pole. And with 13 seconds to go, here's the Haas driver. He should comfortably get across the line, but it's going to be very touch and go. Odems crosses the line with 2 seconds to spare. Jamie Day is going to be 7th, but at the moment it's Softy who very much... Paul's not going any quicker. He pulls over to the side of the track. He has gone quicker, in fairness to Paul. He's up into 3rd now. Let's see what Josh can do, wiggling his way through the last couple of corners. Down the land's going to be no better than 11th, but Josh then making his way onto the back straight. The newcomer for TGP1 having a good qualifying session so far, right in the business end. Is this going to be good enough to improve on a current P4? Is he going to be able to challenge his teammate and Softy? Comes up to the line now, Josh goes, he doesn't improve, and will be 4th at best. Who else have we got on the lap at the moment? Obviously Paul isn't going any quicker. Odem slides his way out of the hairpin. Matt is just coming to the end of sector 2. And let's get some data time. He's at 28.3, I think, through the middle sector. And coming now onto the back straight, Martin moves up to 6th. Jonas is going to be 9th. Awful qualifying for Jonas, as you now just wait for 2 more cars to finish their laps, and it's the 1-2 from the last race. Is Matt going to improve on P5? He's going to want to if he's going to keep his... Matt goes, he goes P3, a 10th off the pace, but still a very good lap. Odem's then up to the line. Is he going to beat Softy's time? He does, a crushing lap of a 27.7, the only man in the 27s. And it's a dominant qualifying once again for the Haas driver, who puts his car where he needs to be to try and claim his maiden TGP1 World Championship, as we just wait for Paul McGuinness now, come around the final couple of corners. As Paul has now done the deed. So let's have a run down the order then from a qualifying session, which at times threw up a little surprise, but it's a usual face on pole. Odems takes pole, another pole position. Softy in 2nd, Matt in 3rd, Paul in 4th, good qualifying for him. Josh as well, good qualifying in P5. Martin up there in 6th, Phil Bargewell down in 7th, Jamie in 8th, Jonas down in 9th. Not good qualifying for him at all. Ritson making out the top 10, Dan just missing out, Owen in 12th, James 13th, Jack Pearson 14th, Chiapelli 15th, Alex 16th, and Dom Smith will start last in 17th. So we wait for what will hopefully be another exciting Bahraini Grand Prix. We need Joe Sayre to skip things along.
James has said that he have frame rate problems.
Oh, we're hearing some live feed there. Jan saying that he's spoken to Jamie. Didn't know they were good friends, but clearly they are.
James.
And Jamie was suffering from frame rate issues. But as the countdown begins to lights out in the desert. I missed that.
Is he still here, James?
James is
I
still
didn't
here.
say Jamie. Did I say James?
Yes, no, it's Jamie.
Thank you.
I said Johnson.
So then, the drivers lining up for the grid for round number 16 of TGP1. And here we go then. We got 2, 3, 4, 5 lights in Bahrain. And we're underway as the cars pull away, and it's a good start from Softy. He's going to hopefully challenge Odems into turn 1. Odems is going to squeeze in wide, and Odems up the inside line. Is going to be contact further back. Josh has made a good start and getting himself in the mix of it with Paul. Matt's been pushed down to 5th so far. It's a good start from Paul, who's up to 2nd. He's jumped past Softy. Disastrous to Softy. Matt's not having a good one as well. Jonas is already up to 7th. Phil Bargewell is keeping in the mix with Matt as well, as Josh is now going to have a gun. Josh is round. Oh, disaster. He's collected the 2 Renaults.
Sake.
Matt
for
and Jonas.
fuck's sake.
Oh, and Jonas is
Wow.
out. Jonas has lost his front wheel.
Again! Fucking Chiapelli, you twat!
And the 2
I'm afraid
Renaults
Dan the man
are
hit me into
16th
you,
and
Josh.
17th. Josh is in 16th as well. It's a disaster for those who, coming into that turn, were running 4th, 5th and 6th. Phil Bargewell was the only one to get out of that scot-free. And I'm sure there's damage on those two cars that are left. There is front wing end plates missing from both of those two. Matt's still on the attack though to try and make up some ground. I'm sure he'll come into the pits at the end of this lap, but he's already trying to make a move up the inside of Alex and has done so. But it's a disaster for those three drivers, and we've lost one of them. And if Jonas' title hunt was diminishing, it's well and truly vanished now with another non-score, and his main title rival already got a second lead out at the front.
Am I lagging?
So as we have a little look through the field, who else has made some good starts in the middle of all of that? Let's have a little look. I need the position changes. A man who's made a great start, Owen up 4 places. We've got Jack Pearson's in the pits. Interestingly, neither Josh nor Matt have come into the pits, and those two have made the worst starts of them all. But is it really a surprise when they're caught up in the little tangle? Ritson's made up 3 positions as well. Jamie also made up a couple. Martin's made up 1. Phil had a great start, kept out of all the drama and intrigue that was going on, and has found himself in 4th place, and in a minute going to try and hustle the man in the sister car of Softcops. Phil runs very wide there actually. He's going to want to watch it add out. Not going to want to pick up too many warnings in this race. So out front then, Odems can control the race after those around him falling by the wayside. And Paul is already a second and a half of him. It's interesting, Softy's already 2 seconds behind the leader, just 7/10 behind Paul, and will want to rectify that as soon as he can. Phil Bartrow dropping back from this little group as well. We saw him go off just now, but he's got Martin all over his rear end, and is Phil struggling already? Maybe he did pick up some damage in the little hustle and bustle at turn number 4, but he's going to have to be watching his mirrors for the Mercedes. We all know Martin's very brave on the brakes and won't shy away from a manoeuvre, and I can see there Phil has actually got a little bit of damage to his front wing as Odem stretches his lead to 1.7. Softy is just 6/10 behind Paul, but the battle at the moment is between Martin and Phil up to turn 1. Are we going to see a last minute ditch move from Martin? He has to think about it, but isn't close enough yet, as Softy locked up just in front of this pair, and Jamie is now getting very racy behind his teammate as well. The two Mercedes can sense a good point scoring opportunity, as we can see Matt in the background getting past one of the Saubers. And Matt is up to 12th already, and Josh up to 13th. So they've disposed of Dom Smith, and Matt has now disposed of Chiapelli as well. But Phil still really struggling as Jamie hits the back of his teammate. A little tap. I don't think he's picked up any damage, but Phil is struggling to keep the two pesky Mercedes behind, and they will have DRS as we see the flap open up for Martin now. And is he going to be close enough to try and move on Phil on the back straight? I don't think he is, coming into turn 10. And Phil holding his own for the time being, but is it just a matter of time before we see 2 silver arrows fly past a stricken Red Bull, as now Ritson's joining the back of this little battle to make it a quartet. As Phil on the back straight, going to have to watch his mirrors. Jamie is trying to pressurise his teammate, and I hope this doesn't end badly for the two Mercedes drivers. They could do with some good points as Martin gets a little bit wayward, and now got Jamie all over his back end as Martin peels off into the pits, maybe to try and undercut, excuse me, of Phil. But now to turn 1. Jamie's not going to be close enough to Phil. Is Ritson going to be close enough to Jamie? He thinks he might be, but not quite. There's a little bit of contact there actually. Did Ritson try something that wasn't quite on? They get very close, but Ritson, fair play to him, has gone around the outside of Jamie and moved up into P5. Great move in the end from Ritson. He looked too far back, but he made it work. And Jamie, just when he needed to be thinking about going forward, has found himself a place further behind. Ritson with a little bit of front wing damage. Maybe he picked that up with that little scuffle with Jamie. But the Force India driver finds himself in 5th. So a good race on Ritson's return after a disappointing Singapore Grand Prix. And Paul is still holding his own out in 2nd as well at the moment from Softy, so a good race so far from him. Matt's made his way up to 10th. Josh has pitted and find himself behind Jack Pearson now to got down the man running wide in the background. James O'Connor, who's on the softer tyres, is down in 9th, but still not a bad effort on the harder of the 2 compounds that most drivers will probably end up using. Ritson then Is he going to be able to get close enough to Phil to make a move? He's within that 1 second mark, but I think we might see all three of these drivers peel off into the pits at the end of this lap. I mean, Martin pitted very early, in my opinion. 3 laps is not very long at all. So will we actually see any of these drivers peel off? Saying that all 3 of them probably will. No. No, Jamie's pitted. Jamie has come into the pits.
Matt's in.
As is Matt.
As is Dom.
As is Dom. Dom, don't get another penalty.
Thank you.
So Matt then, will he change his front wing? He might feel it necessary, just give him that little bit of extra downforce coming through the corners. And the Renault mechanics do get to work on that front wing end plate. Soft tyres go on. And that probably means Dom Smith's going to jump him as well, I fear. And yes, Dom Smith has jumped. Jamie finds himself coming out behind his teammate, and there's a second and a half between those two now, so they're going to want to get their head down and make some inroads on Phil and Ritson while they got fresh tyres on and front wings all intact. And these two maybe struggling a little bit on some used tyres, as Softy is now just 2 tenths behind Paul. And is he going to be close enough to make a move into turn 10? It's going to be almighty close, but not quite yet. Are we going to see the battle take to the stops? On lap 5 now, the soft tyres should comfortably do the 10 laps that would follow. 9 laps, sorry, that would follow. But for the time being, Paul is really being hounded by the Toro Rosso. He's going to have to go defensive into the last turn to make sure he isn't passed already. Paul then cuts back across to the racing line, just about leaves Softy enough space. And are we going to see one of these two or both peel into the pit, as does Softy? The battle is indeed taken to the pits. And Odems has pitted in the meantime as well, as has Phil. Ritson, the only one of the top 5 to stay out. Owen will also have to stay out as Phil's in the pits. James stays out, of course, on the soft tyres. Paul's out. Softy's going to have to wait and is behind Paul again and only just out ahead of Phil. Where is Martin's on the main straight at the moment? Jamie's only just behind. This is going to be very close between these drivers. Martin might get Phil. Phil cuts across to the racing line and it's close, and Phil's done it. No, Martin has done Phil and it actually gets very close to Softy. So great strategy call from Mercedes to get one of their men in between the Red Bull sponsored cars. So a great call there. Jamie is just a second and a half off Phil, but Phil finds himself down in what is 11th, but technically a net 5th. But will now have to stay at the back of a Silver Arrows, and with a front wing that's intact, that's not exactly ideal. On now to the back straight. Martin all over the back of Softy. He's really giving himself a good run. We could still see Martin on the podium, subject to his tyre wear at the end. Softy's going to want to be progressing forward as much as possible. Martin runs a little bit wide, and Paul is actually scarping away from this little group. So the pit stop window definitely came at the right time for the Scotsman to give him a little bit of breathing room, as Odem's making his way through the traffic of Chiapelli and Alex. And as we see Ritson and Owen now in the pits. Now Ritson pulls away from his box. Where's he going to be in relation to the Mercedes drivers? They're just coming along the start-finish straight now. Ritson coming towards the end of the pit lane. It's going to be close. Paul goes through, Softy goes through, Martin goes through, Phil goes through. Where's Jamie? Jamie is coming up to it now, and I think Ritson is still ahead of the Mercedes driver. Yes, he is. So the Force India mechanics doing well to change the wing, I believe, in that stop, and still getting him out ahead of the Mercedes driver, so good for him. Softy's still under humongous pressure from Martin, and this race is really starting to hot up now.
Get back here, you fuck.
Matt and
Jack Pearson on the team radio is behind Matt. I think Matt's just overtaken Jack, actually. And Matt, interestingly, came out behind Josh after the stops. So those two in their own little race, unfortunately, after their little incident early on and turn 4. But,
oh, Jack's off! Jack's off! He's spun!
Jack Pearson is off. What's happened to Jack? He's facing the wrong way. He's in the gravel. He's spinning round. And his tyres will be ruined. He now falls in behind Alex Coates. And his medium tyres, they're meant to last long, but they're definitely going to last a lot less now. as the race is just starting to settle down a little bit. We're going to take this time to go and have a little chat with our favourite man, Dom Smith. Dom, you're down in 14th at the moment. You're fighting for 1 point. But do you see yourself climbing up the order?
Well, to be honest, my last lap was 2 tenths quicker than Odem's, so I'm hoping I can pull him back in towards the end of the race. But apart from him, I think Luca's the only realistic person I'm going to catch here, Mike. So it looks like P13 is my target, unfortunately. 2 points.
Well, Luca has just pitted. Do you see yourself being able to jump Luca with the stops?
It's going to be really close. I think I was about half a second behind him when I pitted. So if he set a good couple of out laps or in laps, he could stay ahead. It's going to be close, Mike.
It's going to be close. Well, we look forward to it, Dom. Good luck as we watch now again the battle for what is.
And he's done it.
A net second place. Paul McGinn is still holding on to it for the time being, with just Dan the Man and James O'Connor yet to pit. And which one of them will come out better? With now 7 laps still remaining. We're halfway through the race, and Softy's going to want to get past Paul after losing out at the very beginning of the race. And these guys now already 7 seconds almost behind Odems, who is controlling the race out front and seems to be master of race 2 so far this season, or the last few races indeed anyway. But it was made a little bit easier for him with the issue with Josh, Matt and Jonas. So I don't think even he can deny that. But sometimes in this sport, I mean, you do make your own luck, but I don't know how he made that. Maybe hiring Josh at a teammate was the reason for it. I don't know what happened behind closed doors. As James and Dan are now in the pits. So let's see, interestingly, where these two come out. They will be on the super soft tyres, of course, after their stops. And how much of an impact will they be able to have in the last proceedings of this race? So, going towards the end of the pit lane, Owen's going to jump them both. And they're going to come out in 9th and 10th. So still ahead of I know Josh actually is going to be very close to Dan, and Dan's going to have to hold his own. Josh runs a little bit wide, and Dan is poised to be able to make a move. Josh's tyres have been on for a little bit longer, but Dan just needs to get some heat into them, and that's all he will need. But Josh is up the inside. They're going to get very close on exit. Dan's holding his own around the outside, and for the time being, the multiple champion is holding on to P10. The new boy is going to have to wait a little bit longer, but he dives up the inside. There's a little bit of contact, and he almost loses it again. This puts Matt in a great position. Coming up now to the hairpin before the DRS straight. Dan holds on to the inside line. He's going to have to make sure he does this, or his strategy will be ruined. Josh now under some pressure from Matt behind. There's only a couple of attempts between them all. Josh has to go defensive. And is Matt going to try and move around the outside? He'll be a brave man to do so, and on this occasion isn't brave enough. And the Haas driver holds on to 11th for the time being, as Matt almost has a little look there. But Softy is 2 tenths of a second behind Paul, and on the main straight now the battle for second continues. Paul goes to defend the inside line. Softy's going to have a look for a last minute lunge up the inside. He does. Late on the brakes, he locks up. He forces Paul wide. Paul's still there on the inside. There's going to be contact. Is there? Not quite. The Ferrari and the Taurus are going wheel to wheel. Softy goes to cover the inside line. Paul's still there. He pulls to the outside. Maybe should have gone to the inside. As Softy cements the second place for now. Heavy on the brakes mid-corner.
Cheeky.
And he's done all he needs to do, for the time being at least, to secure him a second place. As Paul will want to keep him honest, but won't want to continue locking up too often, because in a minute he's going to have Martin on his tail.
Come here, fucking cunt, you bitch.
Oh. A little bit of team radio there, sorry for the language. And now we watch from the back as Dom Smith's out the race. Dom, no!
What's happened, Dom?
Oh, it's a disaster for Dom Smith, who's binned it just at the end of Sector 1.
James is stuck.
Back end just went out.
James stopped.
James has also gone off. Disaster.
Oh, man.
Odems has also lost a lot of time. He's just lost about 3 seconds in the middle sector. I don't know whether he's had an off as well. But Softy is still being harried by Paul. It's all kicked off in the last 30 seconds. Softy immediately defends the inside line. Martin is still there as well. He'll have DRS on both of them. Covers the inside line off. Paul's going to try around the outside. He's going to have to hold on to this.
Softy!
Softy pushes in wide. And was that a little bit forceful, some might say.
Whoa!
Oh, and Paul's nearly off in the background, and Martin's having to take evasive action. Is Martin going to have a move into Paul into turn 4? Not this time.
Softy's
But he's not far off being able to have a go. And Softy's now got himself just under a second gap. Jack Pearson's having some more issues. There's Josh Pitts again. Coming on now to the hairpin. Ritson is putting Phil under pressure for P5. Jamie's having a race pretty much to himself. Oh no, he's not. Owen. What happened to Owen? Owen's up in 7th. Great race from Owen. Jamie's dropped like a stone. As Ritson now pushing Phil around the hairpin. Phil immediately goes to cover the inside line. Paul's also having to defend a little. Oh, and there's contact. Oh, disaster. Ritson's out. What happened to Phil? Phil's lost his whole front wing. There was heavy contact.
Is this going to be safety car?
Odems is off.
Something's happened to Odems as well. He's gone off too.
What's happening?
Odems has made a second mistake in a row.
Oh, it's full yellow flag, isn't it?
No, not
Phil's got no front wing.
I'm like behind
Ritson's
Jamie.
out. They were both running strong.
Oh no! Oh no!
Odems is struggling for some reason, and he put Softy in the lead. I don't know what is happening.
Why is there so many people off?
That might have been the world's most pathetic spin I've just had there.
Dan, we're hearing on the team radios, had a spin. Odems is pushing Softy round turn 1, and Odems makes another mistake. What is going on with Odems? He was leading comfortably from 7 seconds about 2 laps ago. Now he's fighting Paul, holding on to second. Has he overheated his tyres? I don't know. But the Haas driver and the championship leader is really struggling out there at the moment.
Okay, 11.
How are your tyres
down?
down?
What the hell has happened? Matt has found himself up to 6th.
I'll tell you now, hang on, I pressed the wrong button. Not great.
Owen's in 5th. And at the moment, there's the battle for the lead of the top 4 cars. Then there's a 15-second gap back to Owen. Then there's a battle between, again, 4 cars there.
I did
and then it's down the man.
Which is really...
Odems, I can't see from his front wing whether he has damage or not. Oh, and Paul's off! Paul has gone off as well. What is happening? Is it raining? Is there oil? Has someone just dug a hole in the ground?
It's there's a sandstorm.
Darude has got onto the track, ladies and gentlemen. And there's another yellow flag in sector 2. Matt's off now. Oh, disaster! Matt, who was running up in 6th again, has spun, has lost his front wing, and is plummeting like a stone. And what is happening in this race? Odems has closed the gap to Softy now to just 8/10 of a second. Paul has comfortably got past, comfortably been passed by Matt, that's Martin even, and is really struggling now with a damaged front wing. Matt is going to have to come into the pits with no front wing left. Paul's just going to hold on to it for the last couple of laps, and Odems then is going to have his work cut out, passing Softy, who gets a little bit leery on the power coming out of turn 4. Matt's got a 5-second stop and go penalty for speeding in the pit lane, going from bad to worse for Matt. Josh sets the fastest lap of the race to move into 11th. Jack Pearson's in 10th. That means he'll crash now I've mentioned his name. Dan the Man is running in 8th. James O'Connor, who started on the soft tyres, is now running in 6th. And just a second off of Owen, so could be 5th very shortly.
And stopped for no reason before. I don't know what happened.
Odems 3/10 behind Softy. So we've got a lap and a half to go. Who will win the Bahrain Grand Prix? It could be any one of these two. And the way this race is going, they could both probably retire. And Chiapelli will win. So coming now onto the back straight.
Oh no.
Softy staring in his mirrors to see where Odems is. If Odems has got half a brain cell, he'll stay behind him for the time being and wait till the main straight. Here they go now. Odems pushing Softy out of the final corner. Softy immediately goes defensive. Odems is all over his tail. He will have DRS, but who's running less downforce? Softy's where he needs to be able to be later on the brakes. Here they go. They're getting very close, and Softy's gone wide. He's gone off, and Odems is back in the lead. Softy tried to be late on the brakes, tried to be crafty, but was too crafty in the end for the championship leader, who finds himself back in P1, where he has been for pretty much all of this race, bar the last 2 laps. Owen has indeed been passed by James, Martin has fallen off the boil as well. Softy is keeping the gap low, but is it low enough? These two put their tyres on at the same time, so there's no tyre advantage for either of them. Softy just half a second behind Odems. Odems will need to pull out a qualifying lap with no mistakes to probably keep this one. Softy another lock-up coming into the hairpin on the DRS. He's 6.5 tenths off. I think he's too far back. But are we going to see another Odems mistake? I didn't think I'd be saying that at all this season, but as he's made about 3 this race, you never know what will happen.
Fucking hell, gone deep.
Coming now to the second to last corner, and there was some doubts, but only for a couple of laps. But the Haas driver has now got back to doing what he does best after a short panic. Odems rounds the final turn to win the Bahraini Grand Prix and extend his lead in the championship once more. Odems wins. Softy, a good drive from him in second. Martin picks up a podium in third. Great race from him. Paul McGuinness limping home will be fourth. Good race in the end for Paul. James O'Connor with an inspired strategy is going to come home fifth.
Fancy
And
a
he
little spin on the last corner, Dan.
very low down.
Well,
Owen's going to be
are
sixth.
gone.
Jamie Day will come home seventh. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with that. Dan the Man is going to be 8th. It could have been better apart from apparently his silly little spin. Chiapelli's going to come home 9th. Good result from him. Jack Pearson's going to finish 10th despite me saying where he was. Josh is going to come home 11th. The man who caused such drama in this race. Phil Bardwell, was looking so good for him until an incident with Ritson when it all started kicking off. Phil's going to be 12th and picking up points thanks to Joe Sayers' point system. The man who is hypercritical of the point system. It's worked to his advantage today, and Matt is last on the road. And what a race we've had. If the last race was a Tika, this was very much a King Prawn Booner. As the drivers make their way up to the podium, it's a familiar face on the top step. Odems wins in Kevin Magnussen wins in Bahrain. Softy comes home second. And it's Martin in third. The Danish driver lifts the trophy. Look how happy he is with that win. As the champagne is sprayed, the elation is high, and the Gulf State has seen another classic TGP1 race. A track that has brought us moments such as Aiden shouting at his teammate and other random things. So, Odem somehow wins the race after a few dodgy moments. Softy comes home second. Good race for Softy. Martin in third. Good result from him. Paul in fourth. James, a great drive, climbing 8 positions to finish fifth. Owen similarly climbing from 12th to finish 6th. Jamie in 7th. Dan the Man, good result from him in 8th. Chiapelli in 9th. Jack Pearson 10th. Then we had Josh coming home in 11th. Causer of all those issues at the start. Phil Bardwell in 12th. He'll be disappointed at that after running in 5th. Matt, the last of the finishers, in 13th. What a disaster for him. Ritson, the first of the DNFs, in 14th. Then we had Alex in 15th, the first person to miss out on points. Dom Smith coming home 16th. And at the very bottom, Jean-Luc Taylor. So, what another fantastic week at TGP1 it's been. We're not actually with you next week. We're having a week off. We're going to go on holiday. We're going to enjoy ourselves. But we will be back. Some of us will be back the week after, where we go to enjoy the fantastic races of Australia and China. We'll see you in a fortnight. This has been Sayre Sports. I've been Mike Noon.
See you before.